And now customers can use the Fabric's native capabilities, including natural language in the Copilot, to create their focus-based reports within a few seconds.
To give you an idea of maybe some of the value that we've gotten out of this, today our spend is just over 18 million a month, roughly. And our processing time at the end of the month is only a few hours.
We talk about efficiency, all of us, all of the companies on this call talk about efficiency, and we run all of the savings graphs in the world. We look at CPU, we look at memory, all these different things. But the one thing that's missing is a discussion about efficiency and risk. And I think focus is the first step towards getting to that.
Today, we're excited to announce that the Focus 1.0 is available in preview mode. You can see this in on our website at focus.finops.org. We have a few more updates as well around the open source converters and just general what folks are saying about Focus in the community and what our vendors have been saying. So we'll go into those details in a little bit.
All right, good morning and good afternoon. I think it might even be evening and night for some of you. Welcome to the November FinOps Summit. This is J.R. Storman. I'm Executive Director of the FinOps Foundation. And we've got a lot to cover today. As usual, I'm joining from actually the Microsoft Ignite conference here in Seattle, where we had an event last night. And we want to dive in here pretty quickly. For those of you who are new to us, the foundation is a membership-based trade association that is focused on advancing the people who do the work of FinOps. So all of you in the related disciplines focused on community, education, certification, training, and also best practices, standards, and specifications, which is going to be a big topic today as we're talking about the Focus 1.0 launch. A reminder for folks, we do want you to ask questions via the chat. We'd love you to contribute thoughts and ideas, but please be kind and inclusive to others. And don't do any sales pitches. Don't say, hey, come sign up for my amazing product here in the chat. But if you're a customer of a tooling or vendor, feel free to mention the one you use as part of your conversations. And please don't share any confidential information on this call. So our big ask for all of you, I'm going to make this ask at the end as well, is please go take the State of FinOps survey. This is the 4th year we've done it. Every year we get interesting insights. I'm really interested to see what happens this year, given last year we collected data during the economic concerns, crisis, downturn, et cetera. So it'll be curious to see if some of the answers change. We've already had about 500 people take this survey. It's not small. It's going to take you 15 to 20 minutes. It's really important you complete it, though. It's the best way to get back to the community and help yourself, because at the end of the day, we're going to be able to share in February a lot of benchmarking information, community information. This helps guide the larger industry, as well as provide a lot of you insights that you can use in your practices. So please, 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 if you do nothing else on the back of this call, go to data.finops.org and take that survey there. This last month has been crazy. These events on the screen here were all in the last 3 weeks, I believe. We have been running events all over the world. Last night, a bunch of us were here in Seattle. Sydney just happened. I was in Brazil last week. Wanted to welcome also Rodolfo, who's joining the FinOps Foundation from Brazil, our first hire there. We've had events all over the world. It's been really exciting to see everybody come together. Tons of interest, tons of demands to do all of this. And this is all culminating for us into FinOps X, and really excited to announce that last week we started taking tickets and registrations for these events. This is our big annual conference. It's going to be 3 days in San Diego. We've also now added a Barcelona event. This will be FinOps X Europe. That one is not in ticket sales yet. It's a little later in the year, November. But for the San Diego event, please consider getting tickets now. We're seeing a lot of folks who want to bring teams, 3 to 5 folks from different parts of their FinOps org to come together to meet, greet, meet others, do offsites, those sorts of things. We're going to be asking for speaker calls for papers in the coming weeks. So watch out for that. That'll be coming soon. All the information is there on x.finops.org. We're really excited to be back in San Diego with an even bigger conference this coming year, 3 days of content. Now, this call is an hour-long focus on all the things we're going to cover, but after it, there's not discussion period in this time, but after this call, we encourage you to join one of our community calls, which are regional opportunities for you to interact with your peers, one of the in-person meetups, And the big one, the last big event we're doing this year is going to be at the AWS reInvent conference in 2 weeks. We've got a product leaders session there with the AWS product teams, as well as a networking session on the Tuesday night. So please go check out those events if you're going to be in Vegas for that. And thank you, as always, to all of our premier vendor members who support the foundation. And we're going to hear from one of them today. This is a couple months ago, we were at the Google Cloud Next conference. Right now, we're at the Microsoft Ignite conference. We're going to the AWS reInvent conference. This week is all about what's happening with Microsoft and their announcements around FinOps and the related space. So with that, wanted to pass to Michael Flanagan, who is a product leader at Microsoft and is on our technical advisory board, to kick off with some of those updates from Ignite and beyond.
Thanks, JR. So I'm Michael from the Microsoft Cost Management team. And I'm going to blaze through some quick updates from our team. And then I'm going to hand it over to Rizvi, my engineering director, to share some of the stuff that we're working on and we're looking at for the future, just to give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek of things to come. So when we're going to the next slide. So, all right. So number one, Copilot and cost management. If you are paying attention to Ignite, you might have heard the word Copilot. Go to the Azure portal. It's up at the top. Click on Copilot. Check it out. Ask it your cost questions. Let us know your feedback. This is pretty early. We've got a lot of stuff that we want to do in this space, so we really want to get your feedback on that. We've also got some Azure Kubernetes service views in cost analysis to break down your costs by clusters, namespaces, assets, with some nice experiences to drill into the data a little bit more simply, to make that easier for you to understand what's going on in the data. And that drill down experience is also available in other smart views in cost analysis, so check that out. We've also got a slew of things coming with exports. The one that I think is going to be most exciting for this crew is support for Focus. So we've got a sign up for that. So you'll see that link a little bit later, and we'll share that. But you can also get more data sets, support for storage behind firewall, multiple exports at a time, backfilling the data. There's more to come with that as well. So. We also have reservation utilization alerts, reservation prices and EA baseline prices in the price sheets. And then also a little bit of sneak peek of things to come. We've got compression and parquet support coming, as well as tag inheritance for MCA billing tags, which is another good one that I think a lot of people are going to be looking for. Outside of cost management, we go to the next slide. We've got a bunch of updates from FinOps Toolkit that are out there that you might want to check out. And then this FinOps review assessment. This is something that we just recently shipped that will give you an idea, help you assess where you're at, and give you some tips on how to kind of take your FinOps efforts to the next level. So that'll be good if you want to check that one out. And then we're also really proud to say that we're now officially a FinOps certified service provider. Our field teams have been putting in a lot of work to get there, so really proud of the things that they've done and thankful for the foundation for helping us really get to that. And then lastly, just to call this out, we've got some carbon optimization stuff that's coming. So stay tuned over the next couple months to look out for some of that stuff. That was really fast, but I want to hand it over to Rizvi to kind of show us some of the things that are coming.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael. My name is Rizvi. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning to the folks on the Seattle side of the world. How are you all doing today? Hope some of you had a chance to join our Ignite keynote and breakout sessions. And if you have not heard the word Copilot enough times already, I'm going to talk about it too. So I'm going to talk about how we can use some of the AI capabilities to reason over the FinOps data, and more importantly, some of the focus related concepts. And let me start with Microsoft Fabric. As Satya puts in the keynote yesterday, it's the biggest announcement since SQL Server. Microsoft Fabric allows customers to have full control and governance of their data in one lake. It eliminates the need to move the data. In addition, the native Fabric AI capabilities allow for analysis of their data and reason over it. Now, what we have done in cost management in this month, we are enabling early access to these exports that you are seeing the video. That can be directly consumed in Microsoft Fabric, taking advantage of the full Fabric AI analysis and capabilities. So the export allows customers to configure and export all kinds of FinOps data, all the way from cost and usage details. The example that you see is focus, the price sheets and recommendations and utilizations and everything around the cost data can be exported and can be directly consumed in your Fabric. And now customers can use the Fabric's native capabilities, including natural language in the Copilot, to create their focus-based reports within a few seconds. So that's what we are launching, and we are super excited about it. And as well as like in the coming months, we are launching various different formats that will optimize the visualizations and creation of that in the, through the AI capabilities and other Fabric-related scenarios can be unlocked on the FinOps data. With that, I pass back, and thank you, Michael and JR, for giving me this opportunity to talk through this.
That is great. Thank you for sharing that. It's really cool to see focus with a native export like that happening so quickly on literally the day-to-day that we're launching the preview. And please, folks, if you want to check out the preview, Michael, do you want to share a little context on this link?
Sure. Yeah. The link is just to sign up for the preview. It's a limited preview right now, but we're going to start rolling that out pretty soon. So the preview is really just for that early access. We will be opening it up soon to everyone, but we wanted to get something out there so that the people that were super interested in this could take a look. And as you said, in order to make this available, we had to kind of guess at some things that were coming. So we're still have some updates that we're going to apply, and there's a bunch of things that we're looking at to just make the data better. But yeah, go ahead and sign up for the preview, and then we'll get that out to the people that are interested in that. And we're super eager to hear your feedback on focus and the integration and where you can go with that. So yeah.
Excellent. And just to clarify for folks, that preview there is the Microsoft specific preview. We have the preview of the overall focus spec we're going to talk about shortly. We really do want to get feedback from the community as that launches. You're going to hear a lot more about it from Udom shortly, but we're seeing, all the different clouds start to pick it up and use it in different ways. So yeah, looking forward to seeing how the Microsoft one goes as well. Awesome. So next up, we wanted to welcome one of our newer premier vendor members, EY, who has been doing a lot of work, interestingly, in the FinOps space internally on some of their own billing challenges and trying to solve for both the billing internally and data ingestion around that. So I want to welcome Kerrin and Marian from EY to tell a little bit about their story.
Hi, awesome. Thanks, JR. My name is Kerrin Santalesa. I am a senior manager on our cloud team. I've been with EY for about 7 years. Before that, I was doing ERP systems, financial management. I was in tax for a little while and got my CPA license. And so FinOps has been a really sweet spot for me, getting technical and then also bringing in some of those core financial management components and really digging in deep and figuring it out, alongside all of you as we go. And so I think if you want to go to the next slide, we can introduce the topic. But the cool thing about what we're going to share with you today is that, we work with clients all the time and we get into the details about, what they're trying to do. And then we also have an internal capability. I think most people know EY is one of the biggest consumers of Azure. And we can go to the next content slide too. There we go. So we, as a consumer of cloud, also face challenges just like everyone else. And our environment is incredibly complex. So it's been really awesome to be able to use all the skills that we've been collecting over the years and speaking with our clients, then also look internally and find out how we can make our processes stronger and take advantage of some of the new technologies that are coming out. And this is something that we're as we work through things, we're also able to help our clients work through similar challenges. And so what we faced, and this was probably 5 or so years ago, we were using an off-the-shelf tool, and while it was performing very strongly, it didn't do everything we needed it to do. And that's often something that, we hear in the market as well. There's components that you're hoping to adjust or change. And so we decided to develop something in-house. And so we're on Billing Hub 2.0. So we've gone through a Billing Hub 1.0 solution. We're just getting ready to release our second version of the solution. And we've been able to work through getting all of our data really well aggregated and incredibly usable, not only to our teams that are using the resources for their own management of their capabilities, but also for our finance teams, our procurement teams, and all of our technology partners internally within EY, making sure that everyone has the right access to the right data at the right time. So if you go to the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about some of the value and kind of the key components of the Billing Hub. And the core of the presentation I'll get to is really around the architecture. I think that's the most interesting piece to me anyway, is how did we set this up and how did we do this? We're using all of the APIs that are out there, and as things continue to improve, our capabilities continue to enhance. By setting up a system ourselves, we have the ability to make those changes as new releases come out. We've been able to upgrade our architecture over time. So initially we're using SQL code, now we're using Databricks. As we've needed things to be faster, we've had more data coming in, we've been able to make those slight adjustments so that we can get access to the information more quickly. We've set up notifications within our tool as well to make sure that everyone is getting the information on a timely manner and can make changes. Visibility was obviously very important for us. And then some of the recovery models as well being built into the framework. If you want to go to the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about maybe why we needed this and kind of some of the complexity here. So similar to probably how many of you are constructed, you have many different teams that use your cloud capabilities. And so for us, we established what we call EY Fabric, little different than what Microsoft was just talking about, but that's what we call our tool. But essentially it's a front end. So someone can go out there and make a request for a resource. So if they're looking for a virtual server or database or whatever it is that they're looking to onboard, it's an upfront web front that collects all the information that we need to make the Billing Hub perform seamlessly. So by spending a lot of time upfront to make sure that the data is well collected, it flows through the tool so that all of the formulas and algorithms that are built into the Billing Hub are, I won't say completely automated, but as automated as we can get them today. And we really are able to pull all the data into those accurate data sets to feed out for reporting for either the teams or for finance or for the executive teams on the performance. And so this gives you a purview of just some of the personas that we deal with internally that make our structure a little bit maybe different based on the type of work that we do. Some of these teams may exist on your teams, but they all have different needs from the Billing Hub. On the next slide here, this one, perfect. This is the architecture. So this is really kind of the core of what I am hoping to share with you. And we've seen a couple clients do this in different ways as well. But essentially by pulling all of the data in and aggregating it in a single location, we've been able to really accelerate the use of the data. And when we talk about, using these tools in a more forward-thinking manner, we're able to pull together different data sets for teams to have access to reports for self-service reporting. They're able to go in and generate their own invoices for show back or charge back. We're really able to help with some of the forecasting and the budgeting and really be able to kind of set up those workflows in a very specific way. We're no longer reliant on workflows that are set up within a product. We're not tied to a certain kind of standard. We're able to, really kind of flex depending on the needs of, let's say, a product team or a business unit or an executive committee that's running a certain product where we're using new resources for and we're doing, sort of a POC. We're able to quickly flex and get them the data that they need. There are still pieces of this that we're looking to automate, and we're taking advantage of as much automation as we possibly can. We're building it in as we go. But that's always, one thing that like we're still trying to build out new scripts and make this run even more fluidly. But to give you an idea of maybe some of the value that we've gotten out of this, when we initially set this up, Billing Hub 1.0, our Azure spend was only around, let's say, $1 million a month. And we had, at the end of the month for our reporting, we had maybe 3 to 4 days processing time. Today, our spend is just over 18 million a month, roughly. And our processing time at the end of the month is only a few hours. So we've really built this up to be, a faster, stronger version just by leveraging some of the core components of using a data lake methodology and putting out those data sets and getting, all of the teams involved in advising us on really what they need and where they're going. I know this was a very fast overview of what we're doing on a very complex topic. Hopefully I gave you enough of an idea just to kind of think outside the box as your needs grow and change. There's new ways of doing it, new ways of pulling all this data together and really getting your teams what you need. So if you have questions, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help answer any questions that you have as you go through this. I'd like to pass it over to Marian quickly to give our last slide, and I almost stayed under time, JR, sorry.
Yeah, thanks, Kerrin. Hi, everyone. I'm Marian, and I've got 8 years of experience within the cloud strategy and tech transformation projects, with Kerrin here, also part of the FinOps team at UI. And exactly that. So with the breadth of experience that we have across all the industries and tech sectors, and the depth of knowledge we have gained delivering over 160 cloud migration engagements, we're excited to bring all that to the Focus project and support our community. Being one of the top 5 consumers of Microsoft Azure, with 80% of our business already on cloud, you get a lot of insight, as Kerrin mentioned, when it comes to managing cost on cloud. And I'm looking forward to sharing that with the community here and with you all. So thank you for your time today, and looking forward to connecting with you again.
Thank you, Kerrin and Marian. Timing was perfect, so that was great. There was a question that came through the Q&A. I'm going to drop into the chat. If you wouldn't mind answering that in the chat, we'd appreciate it. Anybody else who wants to ask questions, that'll be there. So our governing board just approved our 2024 budget, and we're laying out a bunch of plans for all the community, the events, the certifications, trainings, et cetera, for next year. This is made up of practitioners. We've just added MasterCard, Walmart, Capital One, Equifax, and others. It's made up of clouds. We've got AWS, Microsoft, Google on here, and all the leading platforms and consultancies in the space that do the work of FinOps. So with this group, and if we can go to the next slide there, I gotta say, Stacey, it's so weird. I'm usually in control of the slides. I don't know. I wanted to welcome one of our new board members, and honestly, I think one of the most enthusiastic people in the community who's been contributing in these last 6 months or so, personally and with his team from Walmart on so many levels, speaking at events, contributing to Focus, just generally being an awesome citizen. Tim O'Brien, welcome, and yeah, we'd love to hear about the challenges you all are facing and why you're leading into the Focus project. Yeah,
excited to be with all of you this morning. I think one of the things that I'd like to say is, like, it's a big team at Walmart. We've got a lot of people doing a lot of work. Carl's on the Zoom call now. If you want to talk to him, he's actually one of the people who has really driven our multi-cloud feed ingestion. So we have a whole system built on. So go to the next slide. I'll just talk very quickly about, as a company, cost savings is built into our DNA. So Rule 9, Sam Walton is the founder of Walmart. Rule 9 is control your expenses better than your competition. And rule number 10 is swim upstream. I like this the best. It's ignore the conventional wisdom. So just move into this next slide as well. We have a FinOps organization. I want to be really clear. It's multi-department. It's distributed. We do have a central team called Core FinOps Support. That's actually across 3 departments. Tech Finance, Global Platform, and Tech Strategy. Those 3 departments act as a single unit to support FinOps throughout our organization. So we have, 10 to 11 customer-focused orgs, and that's where most of the FinOps practice happens. So we have an entirely collaborative approach. If you want to move to that next slide as well. But there's something missing, and that's what I want to talk about. I want to just really quickly focus in on focus. We talk about efficiency, all of us, all of the companies on this call talk about efficiency, and we run all of the savings, graphs in the world. We look at CPU, we look at memory, all these different things. But the one thing that's missing is a discussion about efficiency and risk. And I think focus is the first step towards getting to that. So go to the next slide. Go back one. One of the big things you'll notice at scale is most of your spend is going to be on data. And by data, I mean databases, storage, analytics, AI, and ML, which this year has come to be an important focus area. And one of the things that you learn if you get certified in FinOps is you got to focus on the Pareto rule. You have to focus on that 80-20. Data for us is close to that. But the problem with data and efficiency is there's no standards. There's no metrics for us to really measure if a database is being used. And it's complicated by the fact that databases are often used as a function of what the workload is. If you are driving a stateless website, you might have a different rule to sort of judge that by. The other thing that we've found, and when it comes to databases, we're talking hundreds of different products. We're talking messaging, we're talking stuff like Cosmos, Postgres. There's a whole list of things. The other thing that we lack is really a common industry-wide discussion about architecture. Our biggest opportunities for efficiency, our biggest opportunities for cloud savings are very rarely that we have something running at 40% CPU or 30%. It's that maybe the architect might have used the wrong database, or there's been an application that's grown from a very small scale to a global scale. You need to start thinking about moving from a relational database to a NoSQL database. And that's really what I feel like we've been missing as an industry. Focus is really focused on columns and standards. But I think if we build this foundation of data, we can start to move towards, if you go to that next slide, what I really think we're missing. So FinOps is missing this. Every other industry that I see, finance, if you had a portfolio of investments and it was as large as the portfolio of investments that we have in cloud, you would have a standard way to measure risk. You would have a way to identify projects that might have, disaster recovery requirements that mean that you can't really bug them about their CPU. Every industry has this. If you're trading options, if you're issuing credit, if you're building, electrical engineering systems, you have a way to sort of capture what that risk is. And I think focus, well, it's focused on the simple things now. This is what I want to use as a platform to build a model where we can start standardizing. How do we think about efficiency? How do we take cost and utilization data and start to build standards so that 10 years from now, the people that have the jobs that we have now in FinOps, they have a framework that's been set. And I think the people on this call and the people working on focus, this is the first step towards that. So with that, I'm gonna try to hand that over. If you go to the next slide, I just sort of have a quick summary. Focus is the first effort to standardize cloud billing. We're talking about things like, what is a charge? What is a date? What does it mean for us to issue a charge? But if we can do this, what's next after focus? Standards to measure efficiency by technology, standards to describe architecture efficiency, and maybe start to talk about defining what a workload is. And then I really want us to work towards a 10-year goal of having an established framework for what I'm going to call cloud efficiency risk. And so that's a future message, but the thing to focus on today for focus is that we're launching a pre-release, and I'll pass it over to Udam and JR to take it from here.
Great. Thank you. And hey, Tim, there's a couple questions in the chat for you that have come up. So if you wouldn't mind answering those. And yeah, today we are unveiling the 1.0 preview of Focus. We did the 0.5 at the FinOps conference last June, and Udam is our chair of the working group. I gave him a shout out last night at their Seattle event because this whole thing kind of came to be from a conversation he was having about a year ago, and he joined us this year to really lean in, roll up sleeves. Udam, I just wanted to say thank you. I know you have been busting all your things for the last few months to get this done and out, and I know it's been a huge amount of effort. So we're excited to hear about the 1.0 preview and hear from some of the maintainers what's happening. Wanted to announce also, speaking of pre-releases, that we have just started a pre-sale for FinOps Certified Engineer. A lot of you are FinOps Certified practitioners. This is a new certification. Previously, we just had a training around engineering for the persona. This is a badge cert that helps the engineers understand their role in working with the FinOps team and how to start to think about cost as part of their discipline. Huge part of the discipline. Increasingly, we see FinOps functions living in engineering. So definitely take a look at this. Excited to continue to fill out the portfolio of certifications that are out there. And next year, you'll see some additional new things, such as a focus certification coming to tie to this. So please check out learn.finops.org for that. And next slide there. And then also, before I forget, if you're at reInvent in 2 weeks, the week after Thanksgiving, there's a ton of content there. Kudos to AWS. There are 18 FinOps sessions on the main agenda. There's countless informal events happening. The FinOps Foundation has 2 formal events from our side that we're partnering with AWS on. So please take a look at our events page, events.finops.org. If you're going to be there, there's a lot of content, a lot of opportunities for connection, and hope to see you there in Vegas. Udam, Mike, over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, JR. I love it when everybody sets the stage for focus before I go in, so that I don't need to go over the value of focus. But yeah, just a few minor updates about focus. But before I get into that, on stage at FinOps I made the statement that focus will be a game changer for FinOps, and JR confirmed the same thing. The cloud VPs were on stage saying the same thing. And now I just think back in the last 6 months, after listening to many of you, we are even more convinced that focus is going to be a game changer for FinOps. You can see that by who's getting involved and people like Tim and others talking about how focus is really going to change the way they view billing data, but also how it's going to enable a lot of things for these organizations. So if we can get the next slide. So at FinOps we announced the 0.5. We really had 10 weeks to get something out there, but we knew it was important to raise awareness of this effort. So it really was focusing on I would say the essentials that need to be in the billing data. Since then, we've been hard at work to work on a major release. Today, we're excited to announce that the Focus 1.0 is available in preview mode. You can see this on our website at focus.finops.org. And then we have a few more updates as well around the open source converters. And just general what folks are saying about focus in the community and what our vendors have been saying. So we'll go into those details in a little bit. So next slide, please. I'd be remiss if I didn't start with the people that are involved. First, the maintainers. Many of these folks have really leaned in, spending hours on end trying to get Focus 1.0 out the door over the past many months. So thank you. We've also beefed up the Focus steering committee with the addition of AWS. And then obviously Tim and Ann are well-known practitioners in this community, bring a lot to the table for the steering committee as well. Next slide. And generally, the whole community really has come together on this. We're at about, I think, 101 members signed for Focus across 61 organizations. You can see here, we're bringing the providers, the practitioners, the platforms, the GSIs, all together to collaboratively build this specification. So thank you for everybody that's really been involved in this. Next slide. So want to talk a little bit about what's inside the Focus 1.0 payload. Really, when we surveyed and started planning for this, we settled on 4 main areas that we needed to address. Those were around pricing and costs, discount analysis, usage and SKUs, and then resource metadata and business context. We wanted to figure out how we would go about scoping this work. The awesome thing for us was we didn't really have to venture out too far, because one of the key principles for Focus is that we're working backwards from the FinOps principles and the FinOps capabilities and the FinOps use cases that our practitioners do on a day-to-day basis. So to tell us a little bit more about how we came about scoping these themes, I have Larry Advey, who's a FinOps leader, practitioner, and a maintainer for the Focus project. Larry?
All right, so within the practitioner group here within the FinOps Focus group, we really focused in on targeting how everyone can use and gain value from Focus. And so we received a lot of input from many practitioners. There are dozens within the focused community here. And within our small team, we had 8 great practitioners from various communities and spaces. And together we built more than 40 use cases, really looking at Focus 1.0. And like Dom stated, we really looked at the different personas across the FinOps framework. We looked at the different capabilities as well, so you can filter and look at and find, if you're really looking at, say, resource utilization efficiency, you can find use cases on that, leveraging Focus details. And of course, then you can filter by keywords. We've also got some great SQL queries out there, but we went back and forth on that. I'll say they're in a generic format, so you'll have to reformat them for your database engine of choice. So within the library, we're looking to move it up into focus.finops.org. So it's on the website. Again, you can filter it. You can see from various different use cases, from discount reconciliation, cost detail by billing period, top 10 service cost drivers, and really looking at your data across all of your cloud service providers. So not just AWS, GCP, Azure, et cetera, but anywhere you've got Focus data, you can leverage this. And to go a little bit deeper into Focus, we've got Irina here to take over next.
Awesome. Hey, just a quick intro for Irina. Many folks in the Focus group have voted to actually name a column after Irina for the level of dedication she's shown to this effort. So just joking, but really, I mean, Irina is one of the brightest stars in the Focus group. Everyone loves her. She's super dedicated. Tell us a little bit about pricing, costs, and the discount support, Irina.
Thank you, Adam, for this lovely introduction. So my name is Irina Jurica, and I'm solution architect at NEOS. And now I'll just quickly take you through some of the Focus 1.0 columns, attributes, and use case scenarios revolving around pricing, costs, and discounts. So what's in the spec? What's required? Pricing unit and complementary pricing quantity, pricing category and charge frequency, and some additional dimensions for better understanding and categorization of charges. And of course, essential metrics such as list unit price, list build, and effective cost. And regarding discounts, based on the use case library, we've decided to focus on commitment-based discounts. However, the discount handling attribute does encompass requirements for all discount categories. So as previously mentioned, once providers adopt Focus columns, you'll be able to handle various use case scenarios in a consistent manner across the board. So, for instance, just by comparing the list costs and the effective costs to opposite sides of the spectrum, you'll be able to calculate and compare savings based on rate optimization activities across different providers. Next slide, please. Thanks. So how does it work? For this particular use case scenario, let's imagine that you're a FinOps practitioner interested in tracking and reconciling commitment-based discount purchases. With these Focus columns present in your billing datasets, just by applying this simple query, you'll obtain an overview of bill costs for commitment-based discount purchases acquired in the specified time frame. The query result will provide aggregated costs tied to specific commitment-based discount purchases and enriched with additional information, including commitment discount type. And at the same time, you'll be able to identify associated providers and billing accounts, and even distinguish the costs related to recurring or one-time purchases. So that's it, as simple as that. That's a quick overview of the pricing costs and discounts in focus. Thanks, guys.
Next, we got Chris. Chris, we're so glad you're leaning into this. Chris leads the cost management product at Datadog, brings a wealth of knowledge about the different cloud and SaaS providers, data sets. Chris, tell us a little bit about how we're bringing the business context into the data sets and some of the usage and SKU data as well.
Yeah, so here are some of the additions around business context, usage, resource metadata, and SKU details. Some of the highlights, we all know that tags help translate cost and usage data into business entities. In Focus 1.0, all tags for a given row are now contained in a single column as a JSON object for quick and efficient access. So less of where are my tags at across my data set. We also created a resource type column to easily categorize a resource. So from a single column, practitioners can now answer questions like, am I being charged for a virtual machine? Is it a relational database, or is it something else? Lastly, we also created a charge description column to easily understand a charge. In this column, practitioners can gather full context around an entire row in a few seconds without scanning through all the columns through their data set. And so let's imagine I'm an engineer and I want to track all my costs or my cost of goods sold for my new fancy multi-cloud application in a cost and usage data set adhering to the Focus 1.0 spec. I'm able to drill down the resource-based costs, roll up costs through various services, service categories, and resource types, and show back my application costs to contributing teams. I can do this in about 20 lines of SQL. And if I tried to do this without a common standard, my job would be much, much harder. A single focus aligned standard saves me a lot of time and effort, so I can get back to building and running my product.
Awesome. Thanks again, Chris and Irina and Larry. As you can see, this working backwards from the use cases is not just a thing we say, it's literally how we work within the group to kind of figure out what things, what semantics we need to have, what dimensions and metrics. Next, we got Mike. Mike, tell us a little bit about how the converter efforts are going to drive adoption and enable adoption within organizations.
Yeah, so I guess if anyone hasn't seen the conversation around the converters yet, effectively the specification is a PDF or text document, but it doesn't get you to a data set that you could use today. And so in the FinOps Foundation, we've been running a working group to try and pull together a code base of an example of how you can convert your current cloud billing data into a focus compliance schema. And so we targeted a 0.5 support for all of the major providers, so OCI, GCP, Azure, and AWS. I'm led to believe that we merged the 1.0 support for AWS overnight, and we're going to do a fast follow for 1.0 support for the other 4 major providers. It's a code base at the moment, and the next steps for us will be looking at how we can support you in deploying this code base out to run your billing data through it. But it also gives a good sort of example of how you can go about converting data for those who have their own pipelines or processes already to merge in Focus to their workflows. Part of that tool is also a built-in validator. So once you have data in a Focus format, you can use it to validate that it's meeting the specification. And we're going to continue to work in group onwards to keep up with the 1.0 and beyond releases that we'll see with Focus. So this is a really good way to unlock and unblock anything on your roadmaps to be Focus compliant within your own organizations.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. So turns out we're not the only ones that are really excited about Focus. You can see here what the providers have said with GCP and Azure, especially with the Azure announcement today, but also industry analysts. So Lee is and Tracy are well-known kind of analysts in this space. It was interesting. We were all excited to see Forrester's predictions for 2024 for technology, and number 3 on that list was focus. So it's not just us drumming up this focus effort, but the industry is really leaning in as well. So next slide. So that brings me to my final point. Focus is built by the community for this community to help advance the practice of FinOps and the people that do FinOps. Very much aligned with the foundation and its goals as well. So we really want you all to first understand what's in focus. The spec is now available on the web. Please understand how that can help your organization solve some of the problems that you all have. Also start discussing this in your organization about what does it mean in our 2024 roadmap in terms of adopting focus and unlocking some of those benefits. And then last but not least, make sure you're talking to your providers as well, right? Those providers, they will continue to invest in focus, bring people into the working groups to build it with our community if they see you all getting benefit from focus. Those decisions, I can tell you, are being made right now at the cloud providers. So please lean in and ensure that they know how much focus is going to help your organizations. Better yet, show them how focus is in your roadmaps for 2024. So I'll leave it there. Thank you so much for everybody that's contributed to this effort. And we look forward to working with you all.
Udam and team, everybody's working on this. It's amazing to see how fast it's come together. I want to really underscore what Udam was saying there at the end, which is this is like a chicken and egg problem, right? Everybody's excited working on focus and people are contributing and donating their time. We need the organizations, the end users to adopt it in order to get the clouds excited about it, and the clouds need to adopt it in order to get more end users to use it. So, please definitely look at how you can fit it into your own roadmap. And yes, talk to your cloud provider about how you want standard specification-based data and how that's going to help your larger practice, because they want to hear from you to show you how they can prioritize this. So yes, please join that fight as we get over time so we can all benefit from essentially cleaning up that underlying data that supports all the FinOps practice. Now, last time we had some working group updates that we ran out of time on, and I want to thank Bindu in particular for coming back to lead this off. Before we get to them, I want to pass to our fearless Andrew Nim, who leads our content strategy, to kick things off.
All right. Hey, everyone. Here's an update on our working group progress. If you don't know what working groups are, they're organized groups of community folks like yourselves who get together to create open source FinOps guidance, educational and prescriptive content. Today, we'll be hearing from 2 groups, starting with sustainability. The sustainability group is a long-running working group, and they've actually started transitioning from working group to special interest group. We have 3 in total: government, ITAM, and now sustainability. So with that, I'd love to transition to Bindu, who's going to share a few words on why this is important.
Thank you, Andrew. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. As part of this update is around the working group, the last sprint output that we submitted to the foundation, and it's approved. We came up with the sustainability persona. What I'm going to give you a brief overview about this persona and go over the objective, the challenges, and any of the KPI that we think as a working group that we came up with that you should measure, and what are the FinOps benefits. Next one, Andrew. Yes, so sustainability persona, what we define, the main goal of this persona is that how do the sustainability principles, how do they integrate with your organization IT operations, while we go about reducing the environmental impact and also driving any of the carbon and cost efficiencies. So this was the goal that we defined for this particular persona. Next one, Andrew. I'll just go over some main objectives, challenges, metrics, and the benefits. In terms of the objective, what we want to achieve is that how do we implement, as part of our FinOps practice, as a practitioner, we are already employing some of the cost reduction techniques. How do we go beyond and also implement the carbon efficiencies in our infrastructure? How do we collaborate with the IT operation in terms of the hardware assets? How do we optimize the hardware assets that an organization holds and define their EOL strategy? How do we collaborate with them? And some organization, like bigger organization who have already established ESG practice, how do we collaborate with them? And if they do not, how do we come up as a sustainability persona? How do we define and come up with the ESG goals or the environmental goals and work with the strategic alignment of an organization? And last but not the least is the procurement. Most of our organizations, we collaborate, we have the SaaS vendors that we work with, and we also want to make sure that the carbon footprint that they bring in as part of their SaaS offering, how do we measure and optimize that? While we were doing all and achieving all these objectives, what challenges that one can run into, the very foremost is the budget for the sustainability. It comes usually as a lower priority. So how to bring that awareness, how to bring the awareness while you are driving the cost efficiency about the carbon efficiency. The other one is, and this is the foremost, once you have set up some carbon goals inside your organization, is the data. The data that we are getting from for the carbon footprint is either not reliable and not consistent and not timely. So that was the biggest challenge. And the other one is the regulation. All across the geos, we have noticed that some are, they are coming with their own regulations in a country, and they are not aligned all across. So we have to be aware of which regulation is coming up new. So we have to define our reporting structure. We need to define our data strategy accordingly. Around key metrics, I would say main is as you measure your cost efficiency, we also can measure the carbon efficiency. We can add the IT data that I talked about in terms of the hardware assets. And again, the procurement data, metrics around the SaaS vendors that you have employed. FinOps benefit is critical because we already have a FinOps mindset. So in terms of how we are measuring our cost efficiency, go about measuring the carbon efficiency. And the other one is the strategic alignment. That's where I see is the biggest challenges and how FinOps can help, because we already have that culture in our mindset. Next one, Andrew. Few key takeaways, they are listed many here, but I want to talk about 3 here. One is like security. We say like security, sustainability is also everyone's responsibility. And when we go about the cost, we identify opportunities where deploying your resources which are sustainable. So that automatically gives you a carbon efficiency. And last but not the least is do not get carried away by the term greenwashing. And challenges, I briefly talked about it in our description of the persona, is the data, the funding or the budget. So I would say those were the main challenges that we're facing. And then how are we tackling that? So Andrew gave an introduction that we have kicked off the SIG for sustainability. So if you go on to the next one, Andrew. So that's what is next for us. We are going to work with the foundation in their upcoming framework 2.0, that how do we integrate the cloud sustainability. We are going to publish all that we have experienced as part of working group, collect them as a user story, make a repository of the current standards that are coming up, and also we'll collaborate with the CSP. And I believe this aligns with the focus program that is currently that what Udham talks about. and and that will solve the data problem that we are running into. So having said that, please join the SIG working group. We have annual plan prepared and submitted to the foundation for approval. It's currently it's under approval. So hopefully by the end of the year, it will all be approved and we can kick off all the work stream that we have defined as part of our SIG program in the new years. Thank you. Oh yes, shout out to the team. Oh my God, how can I forget?
No, you didn't forget. You shouted out. That's the important part.
Stars, yes. So these were for the working group, but we have many people who have joined since then, and we have for each of the work streams. But there is always room for more. And please come and join our SIG team.
Great. Thank you so much, Bindu and company. Next up, we're going to hear from Mike Kelly and the Data Workflows Working Group crew about why a strong hygiene practice is important to every FinOps practitioner. So Mike, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and happy to be here and represent the Data Workflow Working Group. So yeah, having consistent, reliable, good quality data is really paramount to, the FinOps practitioner's success, right? And building that relationship, building that trust, it's so key and so important to have really good data. And so if you've ever run into this scenario, like probably most of us have, right, where there's calculations being done offline in a spreadsheet, or maybe one single person knows the history, they know where project X aligns to cost center Y just because they've been doing it for years. But really what this working group was really focused on kind of coming together and sharing was really creating that, an environment or a template where practitioners can come to define like FinOps reporting requirements, build out a FinOps data model, and then essentially generate a single source of truth within a data lake for other downstream reporting. So when we did this, we looked at, what were some of the personas and motivations? What are some of the data sources? What are some outputs and report types that are common against those various personas? And we also tried to put together an architecture diagram. So we have a sample. So if people wanted to create their own data workflow, they would have something to kind of start with. And so that's what really we kind of set out to do. And so, why is all this important, right? And so we've been talking about it. If you can go to the next slide, why does this matter, right? Because clean data and reliable data is what everyone has been talking about all afternoon and throughout this entire summit today. Really, the reliability, the consistency, that common language, common metric definitions, the normalization and standardization of data. But it also, like with the data workflow in place, you will also enable automation and then traceability and auditability. Again, in those scenarios with, someone's got all the expertise or there's stuff being done manually on spreadsheets, some of that stuff can get lost. Or if that person ever leaves the organization, what happens now? And so really having a data workflow, and I'm really happy to kind of share this and share this information with you, because I think it really does. There's a strong correlation between the work that Focus is doing and what that's going to bring and what the data workflow paper entails. And it's how do you get that sort of end-to-end process so that you're delivering on all these things for all your stakeholders. So if we go to the next slide. Yep. So really, when we start thinking about a data workflow, we're really talking about a data pipeline, right? And so gathering and connecting from all your data inputs, right? The cloud billing data, that's a huge one. And so Focus is going to be, right, incorporating that, what the work is being done into this process is only going to make this even more meaningful. But gathering that data, doing the normalization, doing the transformations, all of your calculations, right? And then what are those outputs and everything, right? The reports, the unit economics, the metrics, right? Everything that essentially comes out of that. All of this is being done with the stakeholders in mind, right? At every step of the way, they need to be a part of this. And how are we doing this? How are we accomplishing this? And so this really is what is going to help us. And so we went through the sprint. We published a paper in our first sprint. And really what we talk about is really this becomes the spine or the backbone of your sort of technical data structure, right? So the various personas, what types of data they like to consume, right? The common outputs, the data sources that you should include. Like these are all things that you should be consider if you're looking to start a data pipeline in your own organization. And so I think, one of the things that also enables is the automation opportunities, right? Like once you have this sort of structure in place, you can very easily automate a lot of your processes. So
Mike,
again,
sorry to interrupt. We're just up on time. I'm hoping you can stay up a little bit at the end. Any closing words you want to share?
Yeah, just thank you so much for the team, everyone who contributed. If you would like to contribute, I'd love to hear this, how you're implementing this within your own organization. So please join the Slack channel on the data workflow.
Awesome. Well, thank you again to everybody. As I mentioned in the chat, we'll leave this Zoom open for a little bit if people want to stay on and talk after the recording here stops. But these are the places to go for deeper conversation. We've got community calls going on all around the world right now. There's in-person events. Check those out. And final call to action on the next slide there. I want to remind all of you, the community needs you to do this. Please go take the State of FinOps survey. This is going to be the focus, the topic, I gotta not say focus, it's the topic of our February summit. We'll be rolling out all this data. We want your voices in here around the cloud spend, how you're seeing it, insights, benchmarking, et cetera. So yes, again, this community, it's been amazing to see what's been happening. The work on the Focus project is spectacular. Thank you for all of you who contributed to that. And it's not done. We have a lot more to come on it. This is a preview of 1.0. Looking forward to getting more contribution. So there will not, in the question in this chat, there will be a December summit. That will be right after reInvent, a reInvent recap. We will not have a summit in January. We'll be back in February with the State of FinOps data. JR here from the FinOps Foundation. Thank you for watching. Please go to FinOps.org if you want to get plugged into this amazing community. And of course, hit subscribe right here on YouTube to get all the future content. Hope to see you soon.